Hello, everybody, and welcome to Pull Focus, the cinema-based entertainment podcast where a couple of freelancers come together to talk shop. My name is Mike, and as always, I'm joined by my brother in crime, a man who is judged not by the superpowers he has, but the ways in which he wields them. A man so lethal, he has been compared to a well-coiffed jungle cat. He wears his underpants under his trousers like a real hero. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Robert Andrus.
That was lovely. I do wear my underpants under my tracks. So, like how they were intended. I do not wear them like superheroes.
No. That's the one thing. That's the one thing that a lot of my friends who weren't raised in America, they make fun of superheroes, and even though we're not talking about Superman in this particular title, we are going to be talking about a superhero franchise. But that's what they always say. Yes, we can never. I don't know why I'm speaking in a French accent, but I'll go.
Dude, I was gonna do that.
Right?
I was so gonna do that. You know
right?
why?
Why?
Because the French are the enemy in the opening sequence.
You're absolutely right. That's right. You're absolutely right.
I love that we made the French the villains in this one.
Who could blame us?
I mean, next it'll be the Canadians or the Swiss,
sure.
You know?
Anybody who is I mean, they're world superpowers. I'm sure they've gotten their hands.
No, that's
dirty.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But finally, the French are the villain.
The true, and it's about time. And may history never forgive us. Of course, we are going to take some time and let you guys know. We don't record these particular episodes in order of any kind. There'll be times of which, we have spoken to each other one day, and then because of schedules and that kind of thing, we may not record for 2 weeks after, and we'll put up the podcast anyway because we want to make sure you guys are out there and want to do what we can to provide our opinion. This one that we're going to be talking about, we saw this movie last week, and we thought, you know what, we're going to do it right now because it is poignant. It is a movie that is sparking a lot of conversations and remembrances, and also a lot of cool superhero action. We're going to be talking about Black Panther, Wakanda Forever.
Only the most broken people can be great leaders.
His people did not call him general or king. They called him Kukul Khan, the feather serpent god. Killing him will risk eternal war.
He's coming for the surface world.
We know what you whisper. They have lost their protector. Now is our time to strike. Show them who we are.
And that was the superior trailer to Black Panther.
It was so so good. Wow. I feel like I just watched the entire movie.
You're terrible. That was the trailer to Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. This is the second of the series of the Black Panther franchise brought up through the MCU, and this movie has by far may not have lived up to all the hype, but man, the hype engine was moving for this one, and I think for proper reasons. We open up with a couple things that pop into the Black Panther universe, some of which actually are taken directly from the comics, which we will talk about, and others which are just bits of improv and political drama, and also remembrances to Chadwick Boseman, and some really wonderful character work and some emotional stuff that are popping up. It was interesting for me to watch this movie because I didn't really think that MCU would be able to properly provide a lot of context and a lot of drama and a lot of chutzpah when it came to beginning with the Black Panther as a major arm of MCU Phase 4. And now that this is the anchor to the end of, maybe it was Phase 3, but anyway, this particular movie, it was the last one that was officially in the fourth phase of the MCU universe, bringing on and opening up some doors to television and other movies that we'll be seeing in Phase 5. And also just the way in which, for a brief moment, this movie was a way of saying thank you to the actor, the legend Chadwick Boseman, for playing T'Challa. Chadwick Boseman, who unfortunately lost a handful of years ago to cancer. We were able to take some time, and as fans, I can't speak for you, Andrus, but as a fan of Boseman's work, we've talked about some of the other movies that he's been in. A consummate actor, a great martial artist, and somebody who was able to really pass it forward to the African American community. This movie, I think, did a very good job of being able to say that, hey, this franchise would not exist without the work that this man did. And right. I really do appreciate when we go into this movie that we take a minute to say that, quite honestly, I think that the production was a nice way, a good tipping of the hat and a point of respect to this actor that we lost, and was able to, I think, pretty intelligently carry on the story of T'Challa and be able to imitate some of the things that we had to deal with in real life here, like when it comes to loss and death and the transference of power. Mostly what I mentioned this in the theater, usually when Marvel pops up with a movie, we get the whole MCU fanfare. You know, you get the theme that pops up. It has like a lot of brass and trumpets and everything with dun-da-da. And, you know, the MCU label comes up and they play scenes of other movies and everything. This one, it was a moment of silence for Chadwick Boseman, and the only scenes that you saw being played in the Marvel graphic were scenes from Black Panther and the Avengers and other scenes that Chadwick Boseman was in. And right off the bat, I was really interested, and also kind of taken off balance by the fact they did something like that as a way of remembering him. I thought it was a wonderful step forward, and I think it really got the ball rolling when it came to the film. What were your initial thoughts when it came to the obvious pushes that the production made to say, you know, thank you very much, and you know, rest in peace and that kind of thing, which was in the first minute of the movie starting?
Well, I mean, it's just when you have such an incredible what's the right thing to say? Such an incredible actor and performer.
Yeah.
That did such an iconic role and such an impactful role for so many people.
Yeah, 100%.
Who passes way too early.
Far too soon.
Than what could be expected or anticipated or any of that. And I mean, he literally represented himself as a king to all of the people.
Yeah.
And like all of that, it was just absolutely respectful and necessary and just beautifully done.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I don't know how much more I can say that's accurate beyond that.
I feel you.
It was beautifully done, and it needed a in memoriam scenario.
Yeah,
it needed it.
It had to be done. It's great. That is one thing that we should put up, because one thing that does also have to be done is that you guys need to know.
Spoiler alerts! Spoiler alerts!
In case you haven't already known.
Don't say it. Don't. Save it for later. Go ahead, say it now.
It is later. In case you guys haven't realized, we are going to be.
Say it. Say it.
Okay. We are going to be talking about.
Don't say it. Say it.
Black Panther.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
And we're going to spoil this movie for you. So don't listen to this podcast unless you've already seen the movie. Okay, we're back. That being said, I think that when tragedy like this strikes, and it is a situation where you just mentioned it. It was necessary. I think it would have been a mistake if Marvel didn't go about and actually take the time.
No, you have to acknowledge it. You have to.
I mean, and more so than just saying like at the end where in the credits you say dedicated to our friend or whatever.
Dedicated to.
But I mean, this is different. I mean, the beginning of this franchise was the first superhero movie for a lot of people that they could relate to. You and I mean, it's safe to say we don't know what it's like growing up in this country as someone of African American descent, someone of in this movie they also were able to hit a bit when it comes to people of Latin descent, and that kind of really made it a point of pushing the idea that just because you don't have, and you know what, no offense to like the other amazing actors who were in the MCU, but this movie, and also in tandem with Black Panther, it proved beyond a shadow of a doubt you can have a marketable, kick-ass piece of IP of really like stellar storytelling and superhero work, and the lead doesn't have to be Caucasian wearing a cape. Not that Black Panther wore a cape, he didn't. Also, the representation that was provided by the cast, and just being able to find, and what a cast, and just being able to find places here where this movie could take a breath and say, we know who we are, and this is what we're going to do, and you're going to enjoy this because this is a good action flick, and sit back and relax and get ready to watch a good superhero movie. And I think they delivered on that on a number of angles. I don't think they delivered on everything, but ultimately, when it comes to being able to provide representation in a superhero movie, something that does not happen enough, in my particular opinion, they knocked it out of the park in that regard for this, because the anger, the sadness, the action, the fight scenes, just like the idea of where you see these gods fighting each other on Earth for the quote unquote right reasons. It had everything that a superhero movie should have, and I think that it's really good to see people like Letitia Wright, who played Shuri, getting into the spotlight and showing that she can throw down with the pardon the pun, big cats. And being able to and represent that character as being strong, capable, and honestly pretty moving. The stuff. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm gonna add to that really quick before you finish, and that is, OMG, the cast of characters that they put into all of these movies are all lead actors in their own right, and 100%. Can very easily represent their community and lead these movies. Absolutely. So given the unfortunate circumstances of the original Black Panther or the last Black Panther, her rising in the ranks here is, I wasn't sure if they were going to pass the torch. Or
there was a lot of talk. There was a lot of talk.
Her, or to any number of the people,
right,
that were here. Continue.
I think
I had to say that.
I think it's great that you said that. If I mean, honestly, if we would have given if MCU, first of all, I'm starting a little bit because like I'm trying to process like what MCU is doing here, because not only are they able to provide proper representation and give a good punch when it comes to this being a good hero movie, they are doing something that I enjoy being a comic fan. Shuri becomes a Black Panther in the comics, and the fact that they're able to respect that a little bit and fall into it.
I'm not familiar with the comics.
That's
so
okay.
That makes a lot of sense.
How dare you? But that being said,
whatever.
That being said, the comic nerd in front of me is actually kind of really happy that it turned out this way. But to your point, there was a lot of Twitter backlash. There was a lot of things on socials that people were getting actually angry about, because when it was announced that Letitia Wright would be claiming the mantle, people were saying to themselves, that's dumb. Why do you have T'Challa dying in the first place? He lives for a long time in the comics. Just because Boseman is gone doesn't mean that we can't get another actor to play T'Challa, and so on and so forth. But this movie wouldn't have hit the same way, and it wouldn't have been as...
No, it wouldn't.
Yeah, and it wouldn't have been as, I think, important if they didn't respect the fact that Boseman made this IP. Boseman was the one... I mean, honestly, no actor is...
I'm gonna edit that just a little.
Sure. I mean, no actor is an island, of course, but... Coogler
made this IP. The director.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, honestly, and I would imagine he's the one that fought for the story.
Sure.
To remain as is, but that's me.
But you're not going to find another person to take Boseman's place.
That's my point.
Yeah. Okay.
And
I'm picking up where you're putting it.
And by him starting the IP as is, that collaboration, this collaboration.
I hear you.
Yeah,
I hear you.
I didn't mean to say you're wrong, Mike.
You're allowed to if you want. I mean, if you want to talk about it,
because
we
you're not.
can. Oh, thank you.
I just wanted to edit it a little bit.
Yeah, don't ever forget.
He said had a lot to do with it.
I hope everybody takes a point to notice that.
Oh my gosh.
I'm right, and I'm always right. But that being said, let's move on to like synopsis a little bit in regards to how this particular chapter of the Black Panther came about and how things began to get started. Queen Ramonda, Shuri, M'Baku, and Okoye, and Dora Milaje fight to protect the Kingdom of Wakanda from intervening world powers in the wake of King T'Challa's death. As the Wakandans strive to embrace their next chapter, the heroes must band together with the help of War Dog Nakia and Everett Ross and forge a new path for their nation. This is definitely the most political MCU production that we've seen to date. Not to say that, you couldn't see things coming in like Winter Soldier and that kind of thing. Obviously, when it came to Civil War, there was political pushes. But this movie is actually a take on, in some places, like War and Peace, where we have two rival nations trying to fight for their own survival, and the romanticism and the stoicism that we see in the main characters fighting for the people, and instead of just going after a wizard with a crystal that could destroy the world or something like that. They're fighting for territory, they're fighting for survival, and they're doing what they can to make sure that their country wins. It's a land war, a sea war, a war of attrition. It's all of it. And luckily, at the forefront, we have good actors that are popping up, like Lupita Ngoyo, who played Nakia, once more retaining her role from the first movie. Dane Gurira playing Okoye, General Okoye, who does an incredible job of throwing that spear around, and just like she did in the first movie, and being the forefront in T'Challa's absence. Winston Mother-Loving Duke playing M'Baku, who was the rival. Who played M'Baku. Duke has really impressed me with the way in which he's been able to do things in other roles, and the fact that he's so well able to be a supporting actor when it comes to these ridiculously strong female characters really makes me respect him even more. And also, the man's good in fighting scenes. This guy's he's a big physical actor, and he is more than capable of dishing out punishment and getting it. That's great. Of course, I would be remiss if I did not mention Her Majesty, Madam Angela Bassett, retaining her role as Queen Ramonda. I wish that she could have been in the whole movie. It's too bad that she died.
Spoiler alerts! Spoiler alerts!
Stop it! You cannot say it that way. That's awful.
I know, but honestly,
it's so awful.
Some of the scenes that she was able to do here, especially when you can see that she's a queen that is in mourning. She
was so impressive.
So impressive. It was absolutely ridiculous. And let's give a huge heads up to Tenoch Huerta, who played Namor, or Namor, as they may have pronounced it in the film. There is a lot of legacy in this movie that is carrying on. Namor being one of the oldest Marvel IPs in existence. He is right up there with Spider-Man. when it comes to how long his comics have been around, how long his characters have been about. And I do love it that they were able to lean hard into the Southern American heritage and being able to bring up some of the legends that are popping up in regards to that when it comes to his story and doing what he can to free his people. And of course, we have Martin Freeman, whose accent for being an Englishman was top notch, reprising his role as Agent Everett Ross.
We talked about that.
Oh my gosh.
I heard zero influence of his native accent.
It's ridiculous. And then we have, again, great support from Dominic Thorne, who is playing Riri, who is going to be heading off to play Riri in... Riri, that's right. I apologize. With Ironheart. And then we have great, more great support coming from Florence Kasumba, who played Io, who was the lieutenant in the army underneath Okoye, and Michelle Cole, who was also able to provide some really good stunt work and some really good character pushes as Anika. And just a lot of just bright, capable, wonderful actors who obviously could blow it out of the water. And when they work together, even when it's on a superhero movie, are able to embrace the camp, embrace the drama, and also embrace the cool fight scenes and bring it on home. I do not have anything to say in regards to any kind of critique that these actors push forward. All of them were able to provide this beautiful memorial to the passing of the mantle. And when it made sense for them to be angry, when it made sense for them to be sad, when it made sense for them to be honorable, when it made sense for them to be violent and hateful, they all pulled at it, and I think they all did an incredible job. It was the pacing. It was the pacing and the length of this film that unfortunately didn't resound as much as the superior acting capabilities of the cast that was provided. When we jump into this, when it comes to the way in which the story goes, we find out that T'Challa was dying of some sort of condition in the first opening act. And Shuri is trying to do what she can to get her technology to work accordingly so that she can artificially make the heart-shaped herb. And if you guys remember that, the Black Panther is not just a Black Panther because of their vibranium suit, their technology. The king of Wakanda, or the queen of Wakanda, or the Black Panther, has to digest this magical herb that has grown from the induction of vibranium, which is known as the heart-shaped herb. In the first movie, one of the things that we were able to see was T'Challa earning his right to eat the herb and gain the power that was provided to him so that he could be the Black Panther. And it's the usual thing that you see in comic book movies. Super strength, agility, the capability to do cool stuff like jumping off of buildings and not dying. Healing, all that stuff. By the end of the first movie, all of that was destroyed. All the heart-shaped herbs were burned up in the fire. And we can see now
Killmonger's doing incredible Michael B. Jordan,
which we will talk about in a moment, because that is actually what saved the movie for me when it came to the pacing. We talked about that in the second half.
We did.
But what's going on is that we are told that T'Challa is dying of some sort of disease, which unfortunately rings home here with art imitating life. Rest in peace, Bozeman. But unfortunately, Shuri is not able to find the proper formula to make a synthetic heart-shaped herb that she believes would heal T'Challa and bring him back into power and save his life. He passes on, and then the entire first act starts with a bang with this beautiful just almost like this musical number of T'Challa's funeral, his coffin being carried through the square of Wakanda, everybody dressed in these white ceremonial garbs, and we find out how deeply this character's death affects not only the main cast, but the entire supporting cast, the entire city, and the way in which the ramifications of his death go about and begin to affect things outside of Wakanda's control, most notably with Namor's induction and understanding that with the Black Panther gone, he has the capability of having his country be known and use Wakanda as an ally. Because, and you talked on this a little bit, Andrus, and I really like you to get into like how this maybe have caused some interest for you, how it's like an embodiment, a little bit of realism when it came to French nations and every other nation after realizing that Wakanda, the Black Panther were now weakened, quote unquote, how they were trying to step in and do what they could to get the vibranium reserves for themselves. Let's talk a little about that, because I wasn't expecting there to be this much political realism in this title. I was thinking, okay, Boseman's gone, again, rest in power, and this is going to be a way in which we'll be able to use the loss of T'Challa as a way to invigorate the trading over of the armor and seeing what the new Black Panther has to deal with. I didn't see this intrigue, this espionage pop up. In the first act, we have a Wakandan research center attempted to be taken down by foreigners with AR-15s.
Attacked by a mercenary team.
Yeah, what were your feelings about that? Do you think it's like a little too close to life, or do you like it when it does that? Specifically saying when it comes to being a superhero movie. I mean, it's not something I really expect.
Well, I mean, you have to have subplots in order to make the main plots move forward as well. I mean, that's all part of exposition and everything else that goes on with it. Mm-hmm. I just found it to be humorous that the villains were the U.S. and France.
Yeah, it's a nice turn.
I just found it to be funny. I don't know why.
But because we don't see it that often, you know.
Yeah. I mean, every so often, if you're in a French, in a French-based film, you're going to have French villains. But French villains are they just seem like over.
You can't take them seriously.
Yeah. I mean, because I'm just so like no, I can't take it seriously.
Okay.
Because I'm just like, I want a French fry at the end of it. And that sounds so stupid, and I apologize if that's offensive. But it's a thing. But I mean, the whole political agenda side of it is Wakanda is the only nation that is the keeper of vibranium, which apparently for acts of terrorism, there's a real big caution flag for ways to detect this threat, this weapon, this whatever you can turn it into scenario.
Right.
So I mean that the fact that the other nations were wanting to challenge their claim on that and take Wakanda's hold of their natural resource, as alien as it may be. It was an interesting take on the subplot and what we're eventually going to be leading into a subsequent movie, either series or of this story. So, I mean, it's a really great setup, which again is maybe why I found it to be so humorous. But I mean, I kind of just laughed my way and scoffed my way through that part of the storytelling.
Is there a reason why? Is it because the enemies were coming off as being unserious, or what do you think?
No. I just think that, it's a worldwide platform.
Yeah.
For other parts of the story. I mean, we were introduced to Black Panther. Was it in Civil War, or was it in Winter Soldier?
I believe it was Winter Soldier. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, the fact that, the Black Panther had to have the changing of its guard or king.
Yeah, you're right.
Because of a terrorist attack in that.
Right.
There's so many moving pieces from where we've started the storyline with Iron Man all the way up to where we are now.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a little bit overly complicated and overly muddled, and terrorism is always going to be terrorism. We can identify with that. Yeah. We can latch onto that. Mercenaries are always going to be mercenaries.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where they come from.
So I mean, like literally put a drawing, label of every country into that.
Yeah.
And then you pull out whatever it is, and it happens to be Luxembourg. Okay, well, it's Luxembourg.
Gotcha.
Well, it's Greece. Well, it's this. Well, it just felt like, all right, well, France. It's France's turn. It just felt a little bit meh, in the story. So I found it to be quite humorous. I mean, of course, it's the U.S. Of course, it's, I mean, I made a joke. Why isn't it Canada? Why not?
I understand.
It's a thing.
I think that it's definitely embodying. Again, I mean, we can't say it from our own experience, but from members of our community and friends that we have, I think it does kind of embody a way of this superhero movie, especially when you have like a very accomplished director like Coogler at the helm, saying, well, you know what? Guess what? African Americans and members of minorities have to deal with this with stuff like this too. It doesn't matter if superheroes exist or not. I think it was kind of like this way of saying, maybe the people who are historically heroes in some other movies should be the enemies here, because that's what we had to deal with in real life, maybe,
Sure.
That being said, I do think that when it does come to the way in which they balance the political part of this movie with the superhero part, I think that was pretty well balanced. The only problem was that it was just maybe a half an hour too long. And I think that some of the things that we see, especially when we have, the Talokan, Namor's people coming up from the sea, who are actually descendants of, ancient Mayans or was it Aztecs? Or I think you're right. No, I think it was.
I'm pretty sure it was Mayan.
Pretty sure.
But I might be mistaken. I can validate that shortly.
It's all good. But the South American heritage that we have here, where the Talokan people had to go and actually go as far as moving their entire population underwater in order to stay safe and keep their people away from the horrors of slavery, expansion, capitalism, and imperialism. That is just a piece of history that we know when it comes to the conquistadors and the slave trade from Europe and the whole path of it along the sea and between the two countries. That is a dark mark on just human history, and to be able to have that in a movie where you're going to have a lot of people who came for fight scenes and magic and the Hulk and that kind of stuff, the realism, and actually saying, yeah, this happened in this universe too, and these people have a right to be angry, and these people have a right to say, you're not going to walk all over us. Go ahead and try. The speech that Angela Bassett has, that Queen Ramonda has, when she's at the Congress or the NATO or whatever it was, where they're saying, hey, we want your vibranium because we think that we'll be able to handle it better than you can. And then she just says, I may be in a mourning, but I am still a queen. And if you want to, try and take it from us, then, go ahead and try. And I think that when we see things like that popping in here, it does a good job of being able to provide us some good accelerant for being able to push these dramatic moments that happen, where we have Okoye, who loses her command because she messed up with Shuri getting kidnapped in the middle of the second act. We have Letitia Wright doing this really good job of, at the end of the third act, choosing whether or not she's going to kill Namor, and just being able to understand that mutual destruction is not going to be something that her brother, that T'Challa, would want. It's all these things that pop up with, political dramas, espionage thrillers, and that kind of thing, but it's wrapped in, superhero armor, which I like. And, I can respect completely how they're able to give representation, especially when you have a mutant leader whose kingdom is based on Mayan or Aztec influences, but was still forced to bring his people beneath the ocean in order to survive. During the second act, when we get Namor's history a bit, we're able to go about and find out that his people were also capable of being able to harness the power of vibranium, mostly through the use of plants that was able to be used to mutate his people way back in the day, centuries ago, and they would be able to move down and to survive until other nations with drilling equipment and oil field and moving into the ocean were able to find some vibranium reserves. They were also able to find out that Talokan exists, and that's when we get this really cool meeting. Talokan, of course, being the underwater kingdom created by this indigenous people that was influenced by influenced by the Aztec paradise. Tlococan, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it was apparently ruled by the Aztec rain god Tlaloc. And when you go about and give a nod to history like that and legends like that from people who, aren't Caucasian, I think that that's a really good thing, especially when it melds well into a story that reflects life. We see that Talocan is at the brink of being discovered because American drillers are able to find a vibranium deposit deep in the ocean, and that's when all hell breaks loose. But that's the catalyst, where we have Namor breaking into Wakanda and giving Queen Ramonda the ultimatum: you either work with us to destroy these other countries and protect each other, or I'm coming after you next. And I think that Huerta does a really good job of being able to have like these quiet moments where he's pushing this anger and letting people know what the hell is happening. What were your thoughts when it came to the way in which these characters interact with each other? Because we never have a Doctor Doom. We never have a Loki. We never have a Thanos in this movie. We have people who are fighting for their country, and they're forced to make compromises. Do you find that interesting, or do you think?
Do we really not have a Loki?
I don't think so.
Really not have?
Not in the way that other MCU titles have provided them to us. Those guys were definitely the enemy, the bad person that people could relate to a particular degree, but not as much as this conflict that we have between Wakanda and
I disagree in that. I mean, if you look at Thanos' perspective, yes, genocide is genocide.
Yeah, it's bad. He's a bad dude.
But if you look at it from his point of view, he's doing what he thinks is right and just and real and accurate. That's what everybody's doing in this. And everybody's fueled by rage. Everybody's fueled by revenge.
And grief.
Everybody's fueled by the injustice of the predecessor or the instigating factor or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think it's a hero's journey just told by a villain versus
that's interesting.
That's an acting concept that I'm very familiar with.
Yeah.
If you're going to play a villain role, if you vilify them, it's not going to be a real performance.
You have to relate to them. You have to see where they're right.
It's not going to be a real grounded performance.
Yeah.
You have to find a way to connect to what their storyline is. And I think that what this movie did was it showed us, because OMG, spoiler alert, Shuri's path was fueled by revenge.
Yeah, 100% fueled by revenge.
Fueled by revenge.
Yeah.
If there's a villain in this movie, maybe it's her.
I don't know. I don't think it's.
We're not going to say that because the show's called Black Panther, and that's what the Black Panther is, right?
Oh, right.
And she shows mercy, and she shows respect and humanity and everything.
But to your point,
so does he.
Yeah, she takes on the mantle because Namor kills Queen Ramonda.
But so does he.
Yeah.
Now they're setting it up for him to be a Loki.
Yes, 100%.
He's got ulterior motives.
Yes.
He's got another agenda.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, so does everybody else.
But that's what
I think it's all righteous in perspective.
I mean, like you
you take his line, it's perspective. If you take her line, it's perspective.
You're right.
It's all righteous.
You're right. I can understand that specifically. I think because you can lean on your training when it comes to being able to see things from the bad guy's side or the villain side. You have everybody's side really.
Let me twist my mustache.
I think. Man, watching movies must be so hard for you.
Oh, it's so awful. So awful to be around me.
But I think that like I can definitely bend in that direction a little bit, because I mean this movie does have a lot of filler in it, and that's where it hurts. It gets overweight with some of the over dramatization.
I agreed when we talked about it post watching. There was too much in it. I'm not sure what they could cut, where they could cut it, but they could cut out a half hour easy.
Yeah. I think it also suffered because of we're used to, first of all, I think it's very clear that I have nothing but respect for this entire cast. And in my opinion, all of these actors could have their own series, and they could be the anchor of whatever kind of IP that MCU provides to them. I look forward to Letitia Wright's personification of Black Panther in later productions because I think she's an excellent actress, and I think she can probably be a big, an even bigger star than she is now and carry a franchise. That being said, with the MCU, we have been taught, at least in previous productions, that they do lean hard on previous successes. And one of the things that I think may have harmed this movie a little bit is that regardless of the immense emotional capability that all of these actors are able to provide, we didn't see a Thor, we didn't see we can't see Iron Man or whatever, you know
Hulk?
what I mean? We didn't see a Hulk, we didn't see a Spider-Man or anything like that. And we've been taught to expect that. We didn't see Samuel Jackson, where we've been taught to expect that, where we have previous successes being able to add to the authenticity of this particular of the story. Now, I don't want to say that the experience and the capabilities that these actors were able to provide us was not authentic. The exact opposite. I got broken up when Angela Bassett was standing up on her throne and screaming at Okoye, "What more do I have to give? What more do I have to provide in order to win this war?" And with Guerrera just sitting there silent, and you see tears just going down her face. It's a very powerful scene. She's so
such an
god dang
incredible
good.
actor, yeah. Like Walking Dead, like
Oh my god,
you
yeah.
fall in love with her characters.
It's unbelievable.
She's immensely vulnerable, which makes her immensely likable, I think.
100%, 100%. And I don't want to make it sound like I don't respect the work that we have. I love Martin Freeman. Everett Ross.
So good!
Everett Ross could have his own series, and I would watch that. But like when I've been taught over 25 some odd films that there's going to be a lead in, like, hey, this is going to have something to do with the next Thor movie, right? Or this is going to have something to do with the next Avengers movie, right? And now. And that's not their fault. It's because of Phase 5, and they're moving into different points of IP.
You actually do see that lead in, that tie-in through Martin Freeman and through Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Explain.
I mean, the Valentina crossover from Black Widow.
That's true. Yeah.
From the
Hawkeye.
Falcon Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Movies or episodes.
There's a tie-in for sure.
There's definitely a tie-in, but it's not as blatant and overt as they've done it in all of the other movies.
Exactly, and like in all of the other movies, and in some of the TV series that came out early in the year as well. And that's where it's lacking. I've seen some reviews where some of the critics have said that though this movie does an incredible job of being able to honor Boseman and honor the work these actors have and the relationship they have with these characters, with a little more star power, it could have gone from B+ to A+. I don't particularly agree. I enjoyed this movie, but I just thought it was a little bit too long and it was a little bloated. But I can definitely see their point in that regard going forward. But honestly, as soon as we get to the third act, where we find out, what culminates in the beginning of a war between the Tolakan and the Wakandans, where we have Namor going about and assaulting the city after one of his friends was killed because of Shuri being kidnapped and then being returned back to the Wakandan people by Nakia. We see him enact a bit of a battle where we get some good work from M'Baku. We find out how strong Namor really is. And unfortunately, Angela Bassett's character, she sacrifices herself in order to save Riri. And with that, we see Shuri, like you mentioned before, in an act of vengeance, finally finish the synthetic herb that she needed to gain the powers of the Black Panther and make a vibranium mesh that becomes her suit. And when she dons on the cowl, when she becomes the Black Panther, there's this awesome scene where the Council of Wakanda are trying to think what's going on. And all of a sudden, obviously, Shuri jumps out of an airplane and lands and does the 3-point hero pose in front of everybody. And my God, man, I mean, like, I've seen there's entrances and there's entrances, and I just love it when they lean into the old hero aesthetic, where it's like, yeah, what are they going to do? They're going to jump off of something very tall, and they're going to land on a 3-point landing, and we're going to zoom in, and we're going to look up. The mask with this nanotech is going to fade away, and Shuri is going to stand up straight, and she's going to say, I am Black Panther. And that's exactly what happened. And I predicted it, and I loved it. It was badass, and once we do get this on Disney Plus, which is going to happen very soon, I think it might even be coming up with it before Christmas, so that they can make use of the holiday vibe and everything. I'm going to be rewinding and playing that part over and over and over again. I'm going to be making GIFs of it. I'm going to be making all kinds of things. I'm going to be making wallpaper out of it for my computer. It's going to be amazing, because that was the climax, and everything else from that point, after Shuri is able to push away her guilt, she's able to push away her mourning, and she's be able to say that, you know what, the survival of my people is more important than me mourning my brother's death. That is the climax of the film. And then we go into the final battle with the Wakandans and Namor and the Tolokans, and we're able to find that this big battle goes through, and then on a beach we have Shuri, who got stabbed through her ribs and was able to still fight, has Namor at her mercy, and she says, I'm not going to kill you. It's not going to bring him back. We need to have peace between us. We need to be allies to the people who really want to destroy us, the imperialists, pretty much. What were your feelings when we see, like, this was super camp, but I love camp. What were your feelings when we saw Shuri jump out of the plane and wrap all this up in a nice little bow, which is customary for superhero movies? It wasn't original, but man, I thought it delivered. What do you think as going into the third act and to the end of the film?
Yeah, for me, it wasn't that.
It wasn't?
Just described. No.
Gotcha.
I mean, it was a necessary move in what.
You did not like this movie.
No. It's not that at all. It's
I know.
not that at all.
I know.
It's maybe the fact that I'm just desensitized to the shock and awe. Like,
Sure.
the shock and awe for me was Michael B. Jordan. Like,
Let's talk about that.
yeah, I mean.
So where did Michael B. Jordan come into it? You're talking about the end of the second act where we find out.
No, I'm talking about Black Panther as Killmonger. He was incredible.
He
like,
wasn't.
The end.
Yeah.
Like, move on. Like, no. They found a really creative way to bring him back as a foreshadowing element to the path that Shuri could follow as the Black Panther.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be. I mean, of course, we're rooting for her to connect with some sort of iteration of her brother or her dad, or we've already spoiled it, her mom or some other relative, and it happens to be her cousin, the villain of the last movie, who is so incredibly charismatic and relevant to what she's
100%
and how she's feeling.
Yeah.
That I thought that was the best use of the movie and her dilemma and choice to become the next Black Panther.
It saved it for me. This movie, without that scene at the end of the second act.
Otherwise it was just fighting and it was just things and it was, it was more Marvel stuff, which now we're a little bit desensitized to anyway.
That's true.
But that doesn't stop me from going and talking about it to everybody that I want to talk about it to. That was such a wonderful surprise, and also just great plot point for
100%.
them to carry over.
Specifically, during the end of the second act, Shuri takes the potion to get the powers of Black Panther, and just like T'Challa did back in the first movie, just like T'Challa had to back in the first movie, he has to visit his ancestors in the plane that all Wakandans go to when they die and get some counsel. And Shuri's in there, and she's expecting to see her brother or her father. But you're right. She sees Killmonger. And Killmonger, being, I think, the most honest character in the IP, tells her straight. He says, there's a reason as to why you see me. There's a reason as to why you need to hear what I'm telling you. And it's because right now is the time to fight. And you have to do it because they're going to kill all of you if you don't. He's telling her to, give in to that vengeance, give in to the dark side. And it serves her well, but at the end, she does happen to go through the culmination of the full hero's journey. And after the loss of her teacher, she's able to evolve, gain more power, then also gain wisdom through that loss and having that calamity averted through the actions that she takes and the decisions that she makes. And then, like, things kind of just ebb away. I think that, like, when it came to the way in which the battle did end, and all of a sudden everybody's friends now.
No, it wasn't friends, but it was anticlimactic.
It was.
Sure.
That's what I'm looking for. It was a bit anticlimactic.
Yeah, for me, it didn't have the same punch as everything else, and I think that that's also the fatigue of the movie at that point.
It is absolutely. I'm so glad you said that. Again, if this movie was a half an hour shorter, 20 minutes shorter, I think it would have been a much better movie, and they would have had time to, like, honor the climax and that kind of thing. But that being said, it is well put together. I think it does a good job of memorializing Boseman and memorializing the character, and I think also it does a really good job of being able to introduce other characters for more IP that's going to be set up for Phase 5. That's going to take mostly in the form of, like, television series and that kind of thing. But it did its job, and it was entertaining. It could have done a better job, though, and we've seen better stuff. The first Black Panther movie was better than this one, and it's because it honored its time, and it's because I think it made use of the timing of the different events that came through just a little bit better. But still worth a gander if you guys want to take a look and watch it and enjoy the way in which the Black Panther was appreciated as one of the most popular and one of the first African-American heroes, and was able to come up to a huge blockbuster hit, financially speaking, nowadays, and provide the proper respect in that regard. Right. That being said, let's go into specialities a little bit. Talk to me about the cast. We've talked about how incredible it is, and let's go ahead and also double check in regards to the golden question: is this movie the same if different people were acting in these parts? What's your general opinion in regards to everything?
Well, no, it's not the same.
Nice.
Like I don't know that, because I mean we already talked about that.
Yeah.
Chadwick passed, and they could have replaced Chadwick with another performer.
Yeah. If
they chose to do so, and I think the franchise would have been equally successful. Mm-hmm. I think it would have, from
a monetary standpoint,
it would have to go in a way different direction than what it was. But here's my takeaways from the direction that it went.
Yeah, please.
Holy hell! Angela Bassett brought some thunder again.
Amazing.
She has been such a strong, powerful presence as a female actor for I don't know how long.
Decades.
But, I mean, the fact that I say female actor is stupid, but just as an actor,
yeah,
and one that has had such strength and poise and command and
inspiration,
presence, and everything else that you want to put in there. She's just regal and elegant and so specific.
Such a queen. Such a queen.
The queen's perfect for it.
Yeah.
And then I mean it's just really fun to see Winston Duke reprise his role as he did. I had the opportunity to do some casting on a movie that he was in that
awesome.
Did incredibly well at the Sundance Film Festival. His performance in the movie 9 Days is incredible.
Awesome.
Everybody should go watch it.
100%.
Denai Guerrera, oh my gosh, I mean Michonne, excuse me, Okoye, all of the things. I mean, your jaw hit the floor when you saw Lupita. Lupita is stunning. I think that there's no difference in this performance, looks, all of it. Letitia just killed it. She did such an incredible job in taking such a difficult job.
100%.
And on and on and on. Dominic Thorne was my big surprise in this. Like, I wasn't sure that we were going to have an Ironheart character, and the fact that we have an Ironheart character this soon is great. My friend Miss Sophia Wiley, a student of mine, did the voice in the cartoons, and And I kind of fell in love with the character because it's my student, and like I'm cheerleading along.
It's great.
But
It's okay.
Dominic did a terrific job in that role.
Yeah.
I believed everything that she threw down.
I would have liked to have seen more.
That's honestly one of the scenes that I would cut, though, is her introduction scene.
Okay.
Wasn't as necessary for the goofiness that they had in it.
Yeah.
I would have just liked them to show up, the Wakandan team show up in her bunker, in her
garage.
And have that exchange. But that doesn't show us that she's an MIT genius. We could have done that through exposition and words in that format, and that would have been fine with me. But to see her dorm room and all of that, it was kind of cheesy and hokey. But that's also some of the fanfare of what Marvel is.
No, it's true. It's true.
Let's just go down the list of everybody.
Yeah, bring it.
I'm going to keep doing the same thing.
I love it.
You definitely have to talk about Tanoa Carrera. So good. Martin Freeman, we already talked about being excellent. Like, on and on and on and on. Did I miss anybody? I don't know. Maybe just like the rest of the cast.
Yeah.
Who are incredible athletes and martial artists and special effects.
Yeah, the stunt work on the fight scenes were hardcore, and it was. It's interesting to see how much the actors were able to actually dish in there, and we have to give some heads up to the choreography, how it was. There weren't any reports of major injuries happening on sets during the production. Let me talk about that just a little bit, because there was some things that popped up when it came to, if I'm following the wiki correctly, to the production and how. Let me see here really quickly. Double checking a couple.
While you're looking that up, I'll do a shout out to Mabel Cadena. Like,
nice.
I thought that her second in command performance for the water breathers was incredible.
Yeah. She did a great job.
She had her. I mean, it's really unfortunate that I'm equating it to a COVID mask, but that's basically what it is.
Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right. I love it that you made that. I love it that you made that connection.
They had a water pod on their face in order to allow them to breathe on the surface, since they've acclimated to underwater breathing. It's unfortunate that they covered up as much of their face as they did for half of their screen time, but that did not take away any of their power and performance. They all did such an incredible job.
I do. I am picking up something from the wiki. That's when it came to the filming, the preliminary filming on August 25th. Wright was temporarily hospitalized with what were believed to be minor injuries sustained in an accident while filming a stunt in Boston. She went to London for recovery, but was able to come back in soon after, and filming was formed around her character.
Do you think that was a motorcycle, a car, a spear, a drone?
That's a great question. Who knows?
A jump in the water.
It could have been anything, right? I mean, there
was a lot that
Letitia had to do in this movie, 100%. And the fact that she was able to, man. I know that I gush a lot when it comes to the stunt performance and things, and accidents are going to happen. But the fact that we do have the actors jumping out of helicopters and
no. Sorry, that wasn't the impressive one for me.
Oh, what was the impressive one for you?
The impressive one for me was jumping off of an orca. being tail tossed.
How do they? I know. How do they?
That was just so fun for me.
That was fun for you.
It was so goofy. I'm just like, come on. But what else are you gonna do?
Yeah, 100%.
You gotta get there quickly.
100%.
How are you gonna get there quickly?
Regardless.
Right away.
Injuries happened, but when you're dealing with a production like this, and that Wright was the only injury that was reported to actually slow production or anything, and she made a full 100% recovery, is miraculous, and it does speak to the capability and professionalism of the support crew when it comes to that production, 100%. That being said, the sound and music in this has been something that's been getting a lot of lovely press, And after seeing and hearing, more importantly, the mix and the soundtrack and the score of here, I can definitely understand why. When we have Ludwig Göransson going about and being able to do such a great job of incorporating traditional African elements in a modern score that is able to transcend a lot of traditional orchestrations and being able to bring it into the current time, but still have respect of old melodies and instruments and just a kick-ass soundtrack. I was ridiculously
you
impressed.
actually geeked out in
I'll tell you exactly
movie.
when.
I know you will, because it was pretty funny. You're like, that's new. That's a new sound.
It was specifically when they had like the water bombs on the bridge scene, and usually like when you see something like that, you're expecting like a Matrix bullet time like or something like that when you have like the explosion happen, and it did have that, but the way in which they were able to Foley or be able to put in like the different kind of almost musical kind of attacks in it, and also like the water stuff that was popping up, that really impressed me. I have not heard a sound like that in movies before, and that does not happen often. Not because of me. Listen, I'm not in my basement like listening to sound effects on repeat or anything like that. I was when I was doing production. that was a big part of it. Man, it was so, and that wasn't the only part either. There was another part where that explosion happens, and we see Letitia Wright's character. We see Shuri going, and she opens up like this weird kind of laser shield that keeps her from breaking her neck when she gets knocked off of the motorcycle during the scene. And that sounded completely original. I mean, like, that's what's... I love it that I was able to pick some of these things out. The ADR in this movie was tight as a drum. I do enjoy being able to watch movies and saying to myself, "Oop, yeah, that's probably ADR. That shot was over the back of their shoulder. You didn't see their mouth, and they were just talking about it. Okay, cool, way to go." I wasn't able to pick out any of it. And with a heavy stunt production where they are going to have explosions happening not too far from camera, you better believe there's an ADR budget, and there's a lot of time given in for flubbed lines and things they couldn't get with the shot. I couldn't pick them out in this movie.
What do you mean over the gigantic turbine going behind me?
I know, exactly, 100%. So, I mean, honestly...
But I'm supposed to say, I know.
How are we supposed to have this intimate conversation in the middle of this tornado? ADR, that's what you're supposed to do. And I couldn't tell any takes or anything like that just didn't happen to fill the room. It was great. I'm not going to say that Black Panther Wakanda Forever is a masterclass in audio editing or when it comes to mastering that kind of thing. And again, I don't have any major Marvel blockbusters under my belt, and I can only imagine the kind of work that must have gone into having to mix this film and master it and put an ADR integration. I just want to say that I respect the hard work because it was clean. And if you do want to take a moment to maybe study that a bit, in addition to being properly and poignantly entertained by a political espionage thriller superhero movie blockbuster that might have been a little bit long, but was still really fun, you might want to take a moment to catch Black Panther Wakanda Forever. But that being said, Andrus, I think we've kind of reached the end of our time. I don't want to, let this podcast drag on for too long. So I do want to say thank you, everybody, for taking a moment to listen. And if you think that, we were right on or we were wrong or whatever, that's great. Because remember, we may be wrong, but it's your job to tell us. Go ahead and let us know what you guys think. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on SoundCloud. Email us, pullfocuspod@gmail.com. And overall, have a good week. Or, whatever it is that you're having or going or dealing through. Andrus, really happy again once more to talk with you. As always, we are actually able... This was the first time that we were able to get together in a theater for over, I think, 2.5 years. We've been talking... It's insane, dude.
Yeah. It was pretty surreal. Like, the world of COVID has really kind of affected a lot of things. But hey, we saw a movie together.
It's amazing. Made me very happy. And here's to seeing many more together again. Thank you very much for your time and talking with me and offering your 2 cents. Always appreciated.
Super fun.
Absolutely. And thank you guys once more to listen to us. I hope that you guys are doing well. Please, again, feel free to comment. Let us know what's going on. But in the meantime, just be good to each other. And, we'll talk to you again soon. Bye.